Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you all are doing great and taking care of yourself. In today's IT world, we have been hearing this word quite frequently, and it is none other than DevOps. So in today's video, we are going to basically touch base this concept of DevOps. What is DevOps? Why we need DevOps? Who is DevOps engineer and what is its roles and responsibilities, and what tools you need to learn in order to be a good DevOps engineer. So without any delay, let's get started. So friends, before we take a deep dive on what is DevOps and why we need DevOps, let's take a step back and try to understand how was our traditional approach of releasing any product or an application release cycle without DevOps, and understand what are the challenges we faced or difficulties while we execute our traditional approach of releasing any code into the production. So let's get into that. So before DevOps, our typical application release cycle used to look like this. So you have an product idea, or I would say an business idea, or you want to launch any new application or a product. Once you have that idea, you work with the business analyst or analyst team where they work on gathering the requirements of how the product would look like, what all features it will have. Once we have that, then we move into the technology team where we discuss with them that, okay, we need this application or a product to be launched where it will have these features and need to be launched at this date so that it becomes available to the business users. So the development team or the IT technology team or a lead from IT technology team works with its team members or developers and build up a code. Once the code is built up in a lower environment, which can be an SIT, UAT, or development environment, it is passed to the testing team where the team of testers make sure that they do a valid verification of the requirements by executing certain test cases to give a green signal of launching that product or an application into the production environment. Once that is done, the developer then builds the code and packages it and sends to the operations team. So until this whole life cycle, the developer has never interacted with the operations team, and operations team don't have any clue that what is that package about and where it needs to get installed. So operations team then reaches out back to the developer team saying that, hey, I have received this instruction or this package, but I don't have any instructions, or I would say an operating instructions of how to deploy this package into the production environment and what all components needs to be executed or steps to execute this release. So there is the ball drop from one code to another, ball is thrown, so from one code to another code, which delays this whole application release cycle. So upon receiving the operating instructions from the developer, the operations team then go ahead and deploy the code in production. But through this cycle already there has been a delay because there has been two and fro emails executed between the two teams to understand what are the steps, how can we get this post into the production or release this code into production. So lot of time has been wasted through this until this cycle or until this time, right? So once the operations team has deployed the application or launched the application in production, its job is also to monitor it, which we call as a maintenance kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, once you have deployed the product or an application into a production environment, you need to maintain it so that it remains stable, it performs as what is expected, and at the same time you need to monitor it, which can be infrastructure monitoring, performance monitoring, how is the application, whether it's stable or not. So that all job is done by the operations team. So now we have got an idea of how the typical release application cycle looked like before DevOps. Now let's understand what all challenges or difficulties we face with this traditional approach. So the first thing is handling the change request is difficult. By this statement, what I means to say, once you have launched the product and suddenly the business, when it does the verification or says, hey, I wanted now an improvement in the product, or I wanted to application to look like this before we get launched into the production. So handling and anomalous changes is not possible, or it is very difficult, because you start from the scratch again, right, where you gather the requirements, ask developer to build the code, ask testing team to do the verification, and then build, package it, and put into the operations bucket to get the code release in production. But at the same time, you need to also check whether the operations team have the window to implement that changes in production or not, because those are anomalous ad hoc changes, right, which was very difficult with this traditional approach. At the same time, we have a second difficulty, which was longer time for deployment of code in production environment. Remember, we know that there was no communication or collaboration between the development team and the operations team, so due to which there was back and forth happening between the developers and operations team to get in line about what steps needs to be executed, what code needs to be deployed in which environment. So that wasted a lot of time, and finally it delayed the product to be deployed into the production environment. The third point is the same point which I was talking, why it is taking a longer time for deployment. That means lack of communication, lack of cooperation between these two teams. The fourth important difficulty was difficult to provide a continuous feedback about the product. So there was a situation where testers are already busy working on another product, and this product has been now put into their bucket where they don't have a time, or it may take a time to get to provide the developers feedback, which then can delay the launch of the product into the production environment, or releasing that code into the production environment, since there was no continuous feedback about the product. The fifth point is loss of client trust on delivering the product in timely basis with new features. So due to this lack of communication or cooperation or collaboration between the teams, which is developers, testing, or operations team, the end product was getting delayed because of this miscommunication or lack of communication, right, due to which the operations team could not launch the product on the committed delivery date. Another difficulty was lack high amounts of risks and uncertainty, since there was no communication between the business, developers, operations. So it can result into an uncertainty or a risk factor whether my product will get launched and made available to the users on the delivery date or in a timely manner. And the last difficulty was with this traditional approach was manual code deployment, which contained human errors in production. So before DevOps, uh, or with a traditional approach, the operations team spend lots of time in manually building the product, manually building the code, packaging it, and finally getting deployed into the production environment, but which took a lot of time and can also result into the human. So these all difficulties basically resulted into the wall of confusion between the development team and the operations team, where both the teams do not have any idea what operations team have scheduled to release a product into a production or release their code into production, and development team always is hurry in getting the code released into the production without even bothering how the application will uh, behave into the production environment, whether it would be stable or unstable, or what would be the performance of the application when released with the new features. So there was always a throw from one code to another code, and that created lots of confusion. How DevOps resolves this? Let's understand that and why we need DevOps, right? So DevOps basically focuses on close collaboration between developers and operations and allow developers to work to understand the impact of code changes. So when you collaborate effectively, when you maintain a transparency and have a communication within a team or with each other, it helps you to understand, if I put XYZ feature into my application, what would be its impact, right? And whether I can go ahead and release this into a production without impacting the performance of it, right? The second point here was there is more transparency for operations on infrastructure needs. So whenever you are launching a new product with this collaboration between development team and operations team, the operations team got an high level picture or in-depth or detailed understanding of how would the infrastructure look like, if or what are the needs for that application or product to get launched into the production environment, whether the product needs to run on Linux environment, Windows environment, what all protocols needs to be established, whether it will have a web interface or not, whether it's a 2-tier application, 3-tier application, how would be the configuration of my server. So all that information operations team had with having a DevOps into it. The third important point was provide resiliency by keeping the application more stable and secure. The fourth point is helps the team to provide a quality as it captures the infrastructure issues. With the DevOps, we got introduced to lots of monitoring tools, which helps the infrastructure to capture the abnormal behavior of how the application will perform when it gets deployed into production, right? We will be learning of what all tools you should know in order to be a part of DevOps team or work as a DevOps engineer. The fifth point was building a trust on stakeholders and clients. With this DevOps concept, we were able to break down the whole product into the pieces and would deliver it into more efficient way without minimal bugs, right? So once the product is launched and say we have 10 improvements which we need to do, so we break that into two parts, say five each. So each release will have 5 components going on with these features. Next release will have that. So that helped the trust to be built up for on stakeholders and clients, since we are delivering the product in the timely manner. And the last is courage to one. That means working collaboratively as a one team. So that's what is the benefit of having a DevOps team, or why we need DevOps culture, right? That's it. Now understand what is DevOps. So at a very high level, DevOps is nothing but about people who have a similar mindset and able to communicate, collaborate, maintain transparency by using the most common tools to achieve one common goal. So it's not a technology, it's not the mythology or kind of thing. It is just a people who come together with a common mindset to achieve one common goal. Another definition by Microsoft for the DevOps is union of people, processes, products to enable continuous delivery of value to end customer. At end of the day, with DevOps, we deliver a value product to our customers or stakeholders. In other simple terms, DevOps doesn't have fixed set of rules and practices, but it is more like a culture within an organization where teams from various departments have varied skill sets come together to deliver an intended outcome. So DevOps team would have the members from different departments, someone from system administrator department, operations department, business department, testing department. They all to come together and work collaboratively to deliver one common outcome. So that's what is DevOps, right? Which is collaboration, and continuous feedback. So with the feedback and collaboration, you deliver the end product which adds value to our customers. So who are these DevOps, right? Are they developers, operations, system administrator, or is it a separate role into itself? So let me break down that. The DevOps is nothing but a development team and operations team who come together and make the team called as DevOps. So DevOps bringing development and operations closer together to form a DevOps team which had an intention to deliver one common goal or a common product which will add value to its end customer. Now let's understand what are some principles of DevOps, right? So first is set expectations and priorities and the fundamental beliefs that guide them. So you set up the priorities, what can be delivered at what time, what are the important tasks for you, and what are the expectations from the business to deliver that product. The second is collaborate both within and between the teams on problem solving. So collaborate with testing team, operations team, business team, development team to make sure that you solve the problem together, understand it by bringing different mindsets of different experienced people into one mindset to resolve that problem. The third is automate common repetitive processes to free up time for higher work. So DevOps does not focus only collaboration, communication, or bringing everyone together, but it focuses on eliminating the repetitive work, which can be automated by using certain tools. Don't worry, we will be discussing what all tools you should know in order to be a part of DevOps team or be a good DevOps engineer. The fourth point is integrate the feedback into the work, measuring everything that is moved into production. So once you have launched the product, you monitor it by using various tools. Once you fix those alerts or those issues, implement that or integrate that into the work. So that means if you get some feedback from business that this is performing like this, or operations team says this is not, it's going to work like this, let's do in another way. So integrate that feedback into day-to-day work, and how can we improvise our product or application, and make it a valuable to the end customer. And the last is share data with everyone involved to foster more effective culture of working well together across different skills and specialized knowledge. So once you have this data in the form of metrics, right, or by using certain tools, once you have that data, share within your team, share with higher management to spread the culture of DevOps, of how DevOps is helping to improve their delivering of the product to end customer, right? So share with different teams, right? That would help them also to get their product delivered to the end customer in a timely manner. So DevOps is all about collaboration, feedback, and continuous improvements. Plan, develop, deliver, operate. That's what is our DevOps. I hope by now you got an idea of what is DevOps, how DevOps had helped us to overcome the difficulties with a traditional approach. In the upcoming video, we are going to talk about who is DevOps engineer, what are the responsibility of DevOps engineer, and what all tools you need to learn in order to be a good DevOps engineer. At the end of this video, I would like to tell that DevOps is a person who has the mindset of delivering one common goal. Even though you do not code or kind of thing, but you should have that mindset to learn to deliver the end product to the customer, right? So that's what is DevOps. So let's stay tuned for another session where we will be talking about all this stuff. If you have liked this video, kindly do subscribe, click on like button, and do share with your friends. Until then, take care. Shabakher.